Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us here on the Statewide Noon News. I'm Samantha Sullivan. President Trump has invited congressional leaders to the Situation Room at the White House for a briefing on border security. This comes as we've reached day 12 of the government shutdown, and a solution doesn't appear to be in sight. Nicole Killian has more details from the White House.
President Trump is focusing on border security today. The president is hosting congressional leaders at the White House this afternoon for a briefing with the Border Patrol. This will be the first face-to-face talks between the president and Democratic leaders since December 11th, when he said he would take responsibility for a government shutdown.
I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it.
That partial shutdown is now in its 12th day, and as of today, the Smithsonian Museums and National Zoo are now closed after running out of money. Democrats gain more leverage for the negotiations tomorrow when they take control of the House of Representatives. They say they're ready on day one to pass a bill to reopen the government. House Democrats are proposing a plan that fully funds all of the government agencies now closed except for the Department of Homeland Security. DHS would get funded with a short-term bill that includes $1.3 billion for border security, but not the wall.
The president should sign it unless he simply wants to deliberately create an artificial shutdown of a good part of the government in which this wall controversy has nothing to do with.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders called the Democrats' plan a non-starter. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will not let the Senate vote on any bill unless President Trump approves of that legislation. Well, it looks like it's not too early to start running for governor in Montana for 2020. Republican Secretary of State Corey Stapleton announced this morning that he's in, becoming the first official candidate in what's expected to be a crowded race. Stapleton made the announcement shortly after 9 a.m. in a news release. He said in a statement that he'd like to help guide Montana toward being a state with stronger families, higher wages, lower taxes, and smaller government. Stapleton is a former state senator from Billings and was elected Secretary of State back in 2016. He ran unsuccessfully for governor in 2012 and U.S. House in 2014, losing both times in the Republican primary. Republican Attorney General Tim Fox also is considering a run for governor in 2020. Democratic Governor Steve Bullock cannot run for re-election because of term limits. No Democratic candidate for governor in 2020 has come forward yet. And today is Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke's last day on the job. The secretary announced in December he would be leaving the post amid multiple conduct investigations. When he announced he would be stepping down, Zinke said he was proud of the work he had done at the Department of the Interior during his time, but could not justify spending thousands of dollars defending himself against, quote, false allegations. Those allegations include the department's handling of a Connecticut casino project, whether the boundaries of a national monument were redrawn to benefit a state lawmaker, and a land development project in Zinke's hometown. Zinke was the first Montanan to serve on a presidential cabinet. No announcements have been made on what Zinke plans to do next. In other news this afternoon, it's day 3 in the search for a missing 3-year-old boy who fell into the Musselshell River. Under Sheriff Sean Lesnick tells MTN search efforts have been unsuccessful. He says he walked multiple miles along the river where the boy was last seen, but could not see anything. Brutal conditions, including sub-zero temperatures, are making the search even more difficult. Lesnick says the community help has been immense. Crews from the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, the U.S. Water Rescue Dive Team, a cadaver dog and handler, and the Roundup Fire Department have all been on scene to help out. Residents have also provided generators, lights, and food to the crews. Lesnick says the search wrapped up Tuesday night but was set to resume again this morning. Well, Montana drivers started the new year the right way with very few drunk driving arrests over the holiday. The Montana Highway Patrol reported only 10 driving under the influence arrests on state highways in a 24-hour period between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. There were 53 reported crashes and no fatalities during that same time period.
There's a lot of attention, public message about getting the message out about drinking and driving. We also have a lot of services to help people get home safely. That message seems to have been heard.
MHP reported 181 highway fatalities in 2018 and are hoping that number goes down in 2019. A Helena man charged in the shooting death of Dr. Eugene Buzz Walton pleaded not guilty today in district court. Greg Robert Trude is charged with negligent homicide and tampering with evidence. This after Walton suffered a fatal gunshot wound in the parking lot of a former Kmart in Helena back on October 21st. A jury trial for the case has been set for May 6th. Trude faces a maximum of 30 years in prison if he's convicted. On his LinkedIn page, he lists himself as an NRA rifle and handgun instructor. Trude previously ran for Montana House District 75, but was defeated in the June 2018 primary. Well, now we'll turn things over to Ed in the Weather Center. Ed, it was a wintry start to 2019. How's the first full week of the new year looking?
You know, we're going to start to see a transition in what really we've been experiencing for a while. First it was cold, now it's been a lot of wind east of the divide. But as we look into next week, we're going to be looking at what is leading towards warmer than average temperatures, not only across Montana, but check out the entire continental United States. It looks like at least some chance, especially through the midsection of the country, we're going to have temperatures that will be running above seasonal averages. Wetter weather around us, all the way from the Pacific Northwest all the way through the south and up into the Midwest. Drier as we start looking down in those areas into the deep south, but it could also lean a little drier in eastern Montana, a little wetter towards the west. Forecast details coming up.
Thanks, Ed. Sheriff Jesse Slaughter has officially taken office in Cascade County. He was sworn in by District Judge John Parker yesterday, but says a formal ceremony will be held Friday to swear him in along with other members of the sheriff's office. He says he's expected to be stepping into the leadership position, and his time with Great Falls Police Department has prepared him well. The new position comes with challenges as he enters office, including an investigation by the Montana DCI into spending irregularities by members of the sheriff's office.
It is a challenge, and it's an unfortunate challenge to come into an office with. However, I feel confident in DCI's ability to conduct an investigation and to give those people involved their due process. And when we get the findings of that investigation, we'll then move forward.
Slaughter says he has a lot of plans for the coming year, including creating a Sheriff's Office Citizens Academy, establishing resident deputy positions in rural communities, and working on overcrowding at the Cascade County Jail.
We have a lot of work to do on the detention side of the house to help shore up some things there to help maintain the safety of that facility and the community as well. So we're going to have a lot of projects going on this year. It's going to be a really exciting time.
Now, as we mentioned, Slaughter says there will be a formal ceremony held Friday to swear him in, along with other incoming members of the sheriff's office. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the Noon News. Coming up, what's holding you back from reaching your fitness goals this year? We'll have some answers for you. But first, Ed's back with a full look at the forecast. We're back in just a minute.
Watching MTN News with Samantha Sullivan, Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh, and Farm and Ranch News from the Northern Ag Network. This is the Noon News on Q2, Montana's news leader.